Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's virtual plant clinic. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida IFAS Extension Service here in Hernando County. And joining me today is my regular co-host, Lily Browning. Good morning, Lily.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
I'm very good. And we noticed that we had one of our viewers on even before we were on live this morning. So good
hmm
morning, buddy. How are you?
He
Buddy
is.
logged on to, he watches us through YouTube, so he logged on a few minutes early just to make sure everything was working okay.
Yes. And when I got on, I saw that Bill was chatting with him. So I was like, wait, can he see us now? Yeah.
No, 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 not until I hit that go live button. But on
Yeah.
YouTube, you can make comments. If I set this event up 3 weeks in advance, 3 weeks before we go live, you can go on there, make a comment, ask a question, mention something that you like discussed. So it's
Cool.
convenient.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I see everybody
Wow.
logging on
Everybody,
here.
everybody's here bright and early. I hope they brought some really hard questions for Dr. Lester. It's going to get cold again this weekend.
Yeah, supposed to here in Hernando County, supposed to be a pretty big rain, like pre-dawn tomorrow,
Okay.
which is good because I watered my vegetable garden yesterday briefly, but I haven't watered anything else outside.
One of the things they say to do when for your plants when you're preparing for a freeze event is to water them, make sure the soil is good and moist because it helps retain more heat that way. But 99.9% of the time, nature does that for you. Our cold
Yeah,
fronts come and go with a rain. A rain brings them in, and a rain takes them back out. So, but it's going to get to 32 here in Hernando, so they say. But everything in your yard's already been fried, so it's all right.
yeah, I have a bunch of stuff. I guess I'll have to drag into the garage on. When is it supposed to be cold? Saturday morning or Sunday morning?
Saturday.
Yeah, I'll have to drag it in Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monique says 30 in downtown Brooksville there. So, yeah, I'll have to drag it all in again.
You talked about your lemongrass. Mine didn't act like it was bothered by the last couple of freezes at all. We'll see how it does through this one.
Mine looks a little brown, but
Yeah,
it
me too.
takes time for all of it to turn completely brown. So, come spring, let's say March 1st, it will be completely brown. So,
Okay.
this year, I'm just going to cut it all down to ground level and let it all grow back fresh.
Ooh, okay. Monique is right. Let me see. According to this weather app I have, Friday night it will be a low of 36. Saturday night a low of 30. Sunday night a low of 31. Monday night a low of 39. I'm going camping Monday.
You have a heater,
That's
don't you? You could check out the heater to see if it works.
right. I'm going glamping. I'll have a
Mhm.
heater. Yeah. So, yeah, because I couldn't get any weekend time. Everybody else has it. So I'm going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But yeah, Saturday 30, now they're saying in Brooksville. So, and Sunday 31. So, like I said, I think,
And that varies depending on where you live.
yes.
That's just for here, technically in overall Hernando County,
Right. And
although
Orange
some
County
spots were warmer.
really, I never really noticed much differences between Hernando and Orange County. They seem to follow a lot of our patterns.
They're pretty close.
Yeah.
Lee,
Oh,
good morning and happy new year to you also. Lee down in Broward County won't be getting down to 30.
no. Maybe in the 40s, though.
Yeah.
I like it because it gives you a chance to, even though you don't lose, you lose for the season some of your preferred plants. To me, it's like a good time to, of course, you should wait till spring, but I mean, clear everything out, start all over again with a fresh palette, you know. It's a great time to get rid of weeds. You know, they're a lot easier to pull when they're frozen and dead. And you're gonna, if all over every Facebook thing I see from the county extension offices, everyone is telling you the same thing, even from some Native Plant Society, pollinator groups, especially pollinator groups. They're all saying the same thing. So you know that Bill and I aren't making it up when we're telling you to wait till at least March 15th to prune. And there are at least 3 reasons to do that. One of them is pruning encourages new growth. Monique's weeds are alive and thriving. For winter weeds, I guess.
Yes.
Pruning encourages new growth. New growth is especially, I had a little dot on my screen. It was bothering me on my forehead up here. So new growth is especially sensitive to cold damage. And especially if you have a plant that starts growing up from the ground, you know, if you cut it all down and it starts growing up from the ground, we have another freeze, which it's only January. We're going to have more freezes.
Yeah, during February.
That little tender new growth gets frozen. That's right next to, you know, the heart, the growing core of the plant. That could bring that in there and be fatal to the plant. So you don't want to do it for that reason. Now in our cold fronts that the rains bring in and out, in those interim spaces, it's warm. Maybe the plant on its own is going to start some new growth, so that old dead stuff actually can act as some insulation when we do have the cold fronts. So there's those reasons, those 2 reasons. And another one is a lot of bees like to hibernate in some of those stalks and stems of that dead looking material. A lot of butterflies, caterpillars like to hide up in that dead looking material.
Mm-hmm.
So there are reasons to live with the ugly.
And between the freezes, the weather can be beautiful, sunny, warm,
Sure.
perfect for growing and starting, you know, tomato, pepper, eggplant seedlings for this spring. You just have to take the tray out and put it in the sun during the day. Remember, if it's going to get cold at night, go out there, pick it up, and bring it into your garage, patio, inside your house, wherever you
put it on a wheeled cart.
Well, sure, you could use a cart.
Uh-huh.
A lot of my stuff just goes out in the driveway.
There you go.
So it makes it's much shorter distance to get it back into the garage when I have to. And yes, over this weekend when it's getting down to 30-ish, you probably want to bring the pineapples in if they're in a container, if you can.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bring mine in.
What all are you growing?
I have a couple pineapples that I started from just tops from a grocery store pineapple, and they're up into 5-gallon pots. So 5-gallon, not a 5-gallon bucket, but a black 5-gallon nursery pot. They're doing great. They're huge. They look great. So I don't want them to get damaged. I'm hoping probably this summer is when I'll get pineapples off of them.
Pineapple.
Yeah.
I've known people who take those the tops from the grocery store pineapples and like make whole lined hedges in their yards.
You could start a little forest of pineapples if you want. Historically, the early settlers grew pineapples in this area, and sugarcane also. Not so much over here.
Right.
Over on the East Coast, St. Augustine, New Smyrna, Daytona Beach area, they grew a lot of sugarcane over there. You're kind of pushing it temperature-wise, but you can grow sugarcane.
We have the mills here, so obviously they brought it here to be processed. Sugar Mill Woods. Homosassa has the old mill. So, well, Bill, you gave the wrong answer, apparently.
Yeah, they didn't want to hear that pineapple's going to have to come in, but I'm planning on having to drag in my pineapple, my dragon fruit, my tomato and pepper seedlings. I think that's about it.
I just have those house plants that I just put back out in the yard, but I'll drag them back in the garage. I didn't take them very far from the garage. My mother's Swedish ivy.
So we have a question from Bassem. Since we're talking about pineapples here, dragging them in and out, what kind of fertilizer do you use for pineapple? Just a general all-purpose, and it depends on if they're growing in the ground or in a container. So in a container, definitely complete fertilizer, 666, 10, 10, 10, either one will work. Only fertilize it when it's growing, which is going to be from about March till about October-ish.
How often?
During the winter. Plants, if they don't grow, they're not taking up that fertilizer, so you're just wasting your time and money. And throwing fertilizer out in the environment is going to go somewhere we don't want it to. And if your pineapple's in the ground, same thing, 666, 10, 10, 10. Very, very light scattering, maybe monthly, very light scattering during the growing season. So they're not really fussy with micronutrients or anything like that.
Monique has mentioned before that she's saving her plants ahead of time by taking cuttings, and I copied her idea. Another one of my mother's plants. I know it'll come back, but I took some cuttings of the Purple Queen. What's the other name for the wandering plants that they call it now? Maybe
Wandering, I'm not really sure.
Anyway, you know what I mean, the dark purple. And the Purple Queen is not.
You know the names of all these things, especially the appropriate
Yeah.
name for everything.
Each plant was one of the names, but the Purple Queen is the non-invasive one. But anyway, it was another one of my mother's plants. So I took some of those pieces and actually just stuck them in that same pot with her Swedish ivy. Yeah, I put them in water for a little bit. I know you don't have to do that, but it was over the holidays and I was just being lazy and just kind of preserving them for a little bit. That's what I was avoiding, Monique.
But yeah, that's a great idea to hedge your bets with some of those plants if you get cuttings. Even if your mother at our nursery, they have mother plants, and that's the big plant in a pot that they take lots and lots of cuttings off of to start new little plants. So if you take some cuttings and you have them in reserve, even if your big one dies, you're not at the store paying pretty amazing prices for plants. Have you bought a plant at the store recently?
No, I haven't. I don't remember the last time I bought one in the store. I buy them at the nursery, the Master Gardener nursery.
Yeah, I got a lemon tree less than a year ago, and from a big box store. It's in around $35 range. You can't find fruit trees for a whole lot less than 35-ish.
Yeah.
You go for more. I really want a finger lime, which is a new
Yeah, you were mentioning that. Yeah.
From I believe it's native to Australia, and it's pretty cold tolerant, and has lots and lots of thorns naturally. So say be careful, it'll tear you up. But gets these tasty little citrus fruits. It's in the citrus family, but it does not get symptoms or problems with citrus greening. And I looked online. There's a couple different varieties that you have developed. I looked online, and there's a nursery up in the Panhandle, $90. $90 for a 3-gallon tree.
You can buy a lot of finger limes for $90, probably.
No, the price of them is through the roof. You can only get them at like really gourmet, high end. We probably all have to go like to New York City or something to get finger limes, a finger lime slice on our plate.
Can you make finger lime pie?
You know, I would definitely find out. I'd try that one. Oh, and Teresa is back, and she's putting up fact sheets and everything for everybody to click on and download to get more information on the different plants and stuff that we talk about.
It was the Purple Queen variety of the Wandering Jew that I attempted to save of my mother's. So I took some cuttings of it.
And Dennis has a good question here. Good morning, Dennis. How are you? Has Dennis ever asked a question before?
Not that I remember.
Okay, well, Dennis is either a new viewer or a lurker, somebody who watches but doesn't ask questions. So if we have any lurkers out there this morning, please feel free to just throw out a question. It's like school. There are no dumb questions.
No.
If you ask it, chances are everybody else is thinking the same thing.
But you're certainly welcome to just listen to. And
you can. But
Yeah.
please feel free to go ahead and just throw in a question about anything.
They are, they're just watchers.
If we don't know the answer, Teresa will look it up. And Dennis is new. That's great.
Welcome, Dennis.
So he asked, when should I fertilize an orange tree? And this depends on where you live in Florida. Assuming you live in Central Florida, it doesn't have to be necessarily Hernando County, but anywhere even with Hernando County in Central Florida, you'd start fertilizing citrus in the spring and end in the fall. So you'd fertilize for the first time, probably March, and then for the last time, September or maybe October. I'd say October. And what you want to do is get a high quality citrus fertilizer and just put a very, very light scattering. Don't pile it on. Light scattering, but do it once a month. That way the tree has a steady diet of nutrients, and citrus is really fussy when it comes to micronutrients. That's why you want to get a good citrus fertilizer, not lawn fertilizer or azalea fertilizer, because it has different things in it for lawns and azaleas. So you fertilize it very lightly, and your tree should grow and do very well. If it gets dry for long, you need to water it, especially if it's a new tree. If it's small, because trees can take up to a year to root and get really, really settled in where you really don't have to water it except during a drought. So if it's dry, water it, fertilize it real lightly from March through, I'd say, October, and you should be good.
He's asking what type, 1062, or should you get a citrus special?
Citrus special. Because those three numbers just tell the percentage of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are important, but citrus needs a lot of other micronutrients on top of that, and they're automatically put into citrus fertilizer. So I don't even know what the numbers would normally be for quality citrus fertilizer, but of course, Teresa has already looked it up.
You know what? I saw that the Hernando County Extension Office is going to have a class on citrus in your landscape. I noticed that this morning.
Yes, we do. And let me get into my banners here. Here we go. Boy, that took a while for me to find. Sorry. If you want to find out about our upcoming citrus class or any other classes that I have going on or Lily has going on or the other people that I work with in our office have going on, just go to the web address right below, going across your screen here, Hernando Extension, all one word.com, and it's going to have a whole listing of all of our classes. As soon as we schedule them and put them up on Facebook, they appear there magically on their own. And Lily, I figured out how to make yours appear once again on there.
Okay.
It's a long story because Facebook just changes where everything is.
Yeah, I noticed you asked me to be a co-host in one of your classes, and I haven't seen that question in a while.
Yeah, well, I figured out how to invite you to share it easily And when you share it with me, I found where the notification actually is.
Oh, okay, great.
And now when I accept it, it boom shows up magically on hernandoextension.com. For a couple months there, they weren't.
Right.
So
I've noticed we're talking about citrus again just in the last few months, where we've gone, I'd say the past 10 years without people just weren't doing citrus.
they weren't. And University of Florida has developed a couple varieties of citrus that are now being grown and marketed. One of them is Sugar Bell, and we have 2 trees right out in front of our office that aren't looking really great right now, mostly because of the cold weather that we had a few weeks ago. But they have developed a couple varieties, and we will probably have them available for sale, very, very limited quantity for a limited time offer at our Master Gardener Nursery soon.
Yeah.
I'm working on the details, and when we get it figured out, we will share it with everybody and let everybody know. So it's another good reason to follow us on Facebook. So when we announce those kind of things, you'll find out the price on them is going to be $34. So
How quality are they?
fruit tree prices are crazy, and also for regular plants. The prices at our Master Gardener Nursery have gone up, but very, very little. And I don't think they've raised them for quite some time.
Well, you're selling, if you get the hold of those trees, you'll be selling them for basically what you purchased them for, correct?
No, they'll be marked up, but we have to mark them up because of the nursery that we're purchasing them from. So it's one of those think manufacturer suggested retail price.
Yes. Okay.
And see, that's how people find out about our show. That's how they're alerted by our show, from Facebook. So,
Yep.
and when you watch us and participate in this for our Facebook group, you show up as Facebook user. Unless there's a little disclaimer at the bottom, and Facebook says you have to click here and tell us who and give us permission to show your name. So if you want to remain anonymous, you can watch us through the Facebook group and show up as anonymous. Oh, it's Corey. Good morning, Corey. So keep in mind, it may show up on our screen as a Facebook user, and I'm thinking, who is this person? But today's Facebook user is regular viewer Corey, and he said that's how he gets alerted about our show, is through Facebook, and he has some sour oranges and tangerine types growing under his oak trees.
Yeah.
The sour oranges are supposed to be the best for making orange marmalade.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So keep that in mind.
Lots of recipes for them. I've seen them in Junior Service League cookbooks and stuff, and have various things to do with sour oranges. And
Teresa's in here.
Marmalades are one of them, but they make other things too. Because apparently, citrus has been in Florida plenty long enough that there's been plenty of trees that have gone back to its rootstock due to freezes or just neglect or whatever. So they learned how to make do with the sour oranges too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can use them for. The sour ones are in the Hispanic marinade. I'm going to butcher this, Naraha Mojo sauce. We need to add that to our cooking show when we schedule it.
Yes. And I have seen plenty of citrus trees growing on their own. I've told you, in the Ocala National Forest, I was there, and there was citrus all over the place, like an invasive plant. But of course, if it's going to come up that way, it is certainly going to be very thorny and very sour. Lemonade.
Yeah. You don't want to eat it fresh. You don't want to squeeze it thinking that you're going to get tasty orange juice from it. It's orange juice, but it's sour. So you could use it as lemonade and treat it the same way that you would with sour lemon juice making lemonade, or orange marmalade. And hey, if anybody has a bunch of them and you don't know what to do with them, bring them by the office here, and I'll try making orange marmalade out of them.
Now, tangerines are usually pretty tough, and they're going to turn out to be, no matter how wild those trees are, well, one of two things will happen. It'll be just a fine tangerine or completely inedible. There's not a middle ground for tangerines. Yeah.
But still, even for that sour citrus, there are some uses for it. But the traditional, I want to go in my backyard, pick oranges, and squeeze orange juice for breakfast. You don't want to use it for that. Trust me.
No. And a lot of, because orange trees are grafted, and they use a hardy rootstock, and they put on then the sweet graft. So a lot of times you might notice like half of your tree is frozen, and then what grows back is that hardy rootstock, and it produces a strong tree, but it doesn't add the sweetness. So a lot of times it's grown. They say it's grown wild again. It's grown from the rootstock because the graft froze off.
Mm-hmm.
That happens quite often. So Corey has good tangerines. That's good.
That's great.
They're pretty tough. My sister bought a property. I mean, she's been there many years now, but when she first bought it, there were tangerine trees all over the place. We had tangerine fights. What did you do?
You see Teresa wandering in the background there. Just ignore the person behind me. Just ignore her.
She looks like she's avoiding the paparazzi.
Yes, Teresa is back, and we're very, very happy about that. So
somebody asked if you missed about the tropical peach tree. I didn't know there was such a thing as a tropical peach. Did you?
Well, that's what they call the really low chill peaches that you can grow from about Central Florida or a little bit further south. They call them tropical peaches. That just means that they're really low chill. There's nothing, it's still a peach, just like Georgia peaches or northern peaches are. It's been bred that they need fewer chill hours.
Should be getting some pretty good chill hours this year, I hope.
Yeah. It's really good for a lot of crops that we're racking up some chill hours finally.
I would leave your native milkweed alone. Let it do its thing. If it's just sticking up there like a stick in March, then go ahead and cut it down. But for now, like I said, there's native bees and beetles and things living in some of these dead-looking stalks.
Yeah.
The good thing about the native milkweed, it does know to senesce and go down in the wintertime. So there's nothing overtly attracting monarchs to it right now. And that is a very, very good thing. Because we don't want to attract them. Lee can attract them. Cindy is but they can die in the 50s. We don't want them hanging out here right now. Yeah, Ixoras is pretty cold sensitive.
Ixoras are technically tropical, so Ixoras and crotons, even though they'll grow fine here in Hernando County during the summer, they do not take temperatures at freezing or below. And if it's out there in the yard all by itself, not covered, and it gets down to 27, it may completely die and not come back. That's a kind of roll of the dice.
It depends on how many more freezes we're going to have and how cold it gets. If the last cold was the only cold we were going to have, I would say just wait till spring, cut it back. It'll probably come, back fine. But if a plant like that is meant to be more tropical, it's possible that if we have a bunch of freezes, we've had freezes and we've gotten down to like 29, 28. But, if we get down to in the teens, then all bets are off of what's going to maybe die by the roots.
Yeah.
But You can cut back
Really?
your stuff in the Ides of March. That's a good idea, except that's a general great rule of thumb. And there was a day and time in our history when we could tell you the Ides of March, March 15th. Go ahead. We won't have any frosts after that. What's happened in the past 5 years, Bill?
It varies.
We've had freezes
But-
on April 1st, April 3rd.
Yeah, because it was 25 years ago, probably, where when I lived over in Volusia County, we got a really bad freeze on April 1st,
Wow.
that weekend. And it was a really, really windy front and got really cold. And I had a lot of warm season vegetables all up and growing and looking good. Killed them all. Killed every last one. So these things happen. It might happen on a 20-year cycle. Remember, something that happens on a 100-year cycle, eventually 100 years goes by and it happens again. So freezes, frosts, hot fronts, snows up north, numbers of hurricanes, it varies. There is no, we can tell you the general rules. So generally by March 15th, you're
Right.
safe. That's what I'm going to trim my stuff by,
Yeah.
but we can't guarantee it.
And we can always say we're not in Buffalo. So,
So
Yeah.
Dennis asks, he is planning on putting up a vegetable garden this spring. That's great. We will have lots of classes coming up on that. Yeah, I need to schedule some, I guess.
yeah, you should.
We'll need about 4 yards of soil. Any suggestions on a source for soil? Should I be looking for topsoil? I'll raise it and put a barrier between it and the sand. Am I on the right track?
What kind of
Yes, raised beds can work very, very well. That's where you basically build a box out of, it could be wood, it could be bricks, it could be cinder blocks. They all work. They're all expensive, unfortunately, nowadays, too.
Mhm.
And you bring in good soil to grow your plants in. A lot of times, well, you really have to go and look at the soil. And a lot of places where you buy bulk mulch or landscape rocks, things like that, have different types of soil and talk with them about what ingredients they used in it. And I was about to say if it's good or not. Of course, they're going to tell you it's good,
Mhm.
but ask about what kind of ingredients went in it and actually look at it. A lot of times, what they call topsoil is just scraped from either the bottom of a dry lake or something. It can have a lot of weed seeds in it and might not be the best soil. Pure compost might not be the best because pure compost is too much compost, basically.
Yeah.
So you want something that's
sand with
more
that.
potting soil like with compost mixed in.
What about garden soil that you can buy at the store? I know that would be very expensive to fill up a raised bed with.
You can use it, and I've honestly never bought it and used it myself. I've seen it. When you look at all the bagged stuff, half of it now is called garden soil. So that is what you're going to mix in your yard with the sand. If you want to mix in something organic or garden soil with the sand before you put in a hibiscus or a bush or something like that.
Okay, but it is not for potted plants. That you want potting soil. It is way
Yeah.
too dense for potted plants. You have to get the words potting soil for your potted plants.
Yes, because potting soil has ingredients in it that drain well.
Right.
If you use garden soil or you just go and dig up the sand in your backyard and put it in a pot, if it's wet, it's going to be really heavy and it's going to be really hard for you to move it.
Mhm.
And it's not going to be really good for the plants to grow in. So, I mean, the
Yeah,
reason why
he
you're growing
wants to
in a
put a
pot,
barrier between his soil and the sand. Is that for nematodes, or what would be the purpose of that?
to block nematodes, other pathogens. The problem is it has to be something that will drain so water can go down.
Sure.
And if the holes are big enough for water to go down, nematodes can eventually move up. Nematodes can move through the soil. They don't move real fast, but they can move, and they can eventually come back up into the raised bed.
Mushroom compost would be a great idea, but that's something else you mix in. You don't just
Yeah, that's a great
open a
additive.
bag of mushroom compost and stick your seeds in it. You can. I think mushroom compost would also be a great idea to, in the summer, sprinkle on your yard. To add top dress that to help improve the soil quality for your lawn.
And for anybody who lives here in Hernando County Solid Waste Department is still working on producing compost on a large scale, and homeowners will be able to, for a very, very reasonable price. I have absolutely no idea how much, whether it be free.
You can buy, they hope to be able to bag it, and also you can pick it up by the truckload.
Sure. So you could drive up there if you have a pickup truck and get a truckload. If you spread that lightly over your lawn will love you for it. And it is so much more helpful than fertilizing or watering. People seem to think, well, the way to fix my lawn is if I just fertilize the heck out of it and water it every single day, that's going to solve all my problems. No, that's not going to solve your problems. Top dressing with compost, that's not going to solve all your problems necessarily either, but that's going to help a lot more than fertilizing.
It's not going to hurt them for sure.
Sure, it never hurts them, no. And it'll be a great program. It's still, we're working towards it slowly but surely. One day it will become a reality.
Yes, and speaking of all that watering and stuff, sort of a different subject. I was speaking to a gentleman yesterday through my water conservation hat. He had left me a message, and so I always go back and see what conversation he already had with customer service people. And he had a bill that was outrageous. And I'm talking about, $1,700.
That's a good water bill.
And, it's a brand new house, so new sod. And when I spoke to him, this is what happened. And he doesn't even have an automatic irrigation system. So he has a hose and a sprinkler that he drags around, but he followed the sod man's advice, who basically told him to water the hell out of his lawn. And that is what he did, and then ended up with this outrageous bill. And why he called me is because they are doing then the second half, months later in his backyard. And he wanted to make sure that didn't happen again. And because he just followed the sod guy's advice, and that is what they're telling people. And that is not even, it's two things. We do have an exemption for new sod to our 1 day per week watering rules, but there are also very specific rules you have to follow. And those very specific rules were used and consulted by UF turf experts as the best way for your lawn to, get the roots growing on a new lawn. And also, if you're getting new sod, it's not just the cost of the new sod you need to budget. You need to budget in some money to water it in, not $1,700.
Yeah, that's a little steep.
Yes. So it's going to cost more. But if you follow and I'm glad to email it to you, our, step by step, it's the rules, but it's also what's best for your lawn. And it starts out with frequent light watering, something without roots. No matter how much you water it, it's only going to be able to take up so much. So at this moment in time, I don't know how long it's going to last. You can talk to customer service about adjustments on your bill when such things happen. But I guess the lesson is there. If you get new sod, call your county extension office, call your water company to find the rules about watering in that new sod. But what we give you as the rules is the best management practices for watering in that new sod. It's also the best management practice for your wallet. So, check with us,
Yeah.
check with your water company.
And I point out to people, guys, we're not growing rice here. We're growing turf grass. It doesn't need 10 inches of water a week.
This person used over 100,000, way over 100,000 gallons.
My monitor just went off, so.
Oh, no. Well, we can still see you. So
okay. And I'll try looking at the camera.
We can see you just fine.
There we go. Okay, well, I think I adapted pretty quickly there. But yeah, we tell people we're not trying to grow rice. You don't need 10 inches of water a week. You just need, during the growing season, even St. Augustine grass, which needs more water than Bahia, needs maybe an inch per week tops. And that's from either rainfall or irrigation. So it doesn't need an inch from each. It needs an inch grand total from both.
Right.
So
we have a good question here. Look at this question. If you're still Corey, I don't know, who this particular Facebook user is or where you live. If you live in Hernando County, I imagine gathering up the bits and pieces to make even a homemade rain barrel is going to be expensive because you got to find the barrel. So you can go to a feed supply store, usually find one of those. I don't know how much they're charging for those now. Then you got to find the spigot, and the other hardware, and then some kind of mesh screen to put over it. If you are in Hernando County, we have rain barrel workshops at least once a month. And the barrels that I am able to purchase in bulk are $65, and they are manufactured to be rain barrels. It's not bits and pieces here and there and everywhere. And they, come with all the parts, and they come with brass spigots. And I know Bill finds it funny that I'm in love with those brass spigots.
They last forever.
I've had plastic ones before, is why. And it said they're $65. If you are a customer of Hernando County Utilities for your water, your first barrel that you have to attend a workshop, you have to pay $65. You have to attend a workshop, take it home, but you will get a $30 credit on your water bill for having done that. So it's a $35 barrel that is, manufactured to be a barrel. You only get that credit with your first barrel. You're allowed to get 3 more for your home, but you will be paying full price for each one. And you have to attend a workshop for each one. Or if you're a couple and you want 2 barrels, then both of you, come along. If you're a family and you want 4 barrels, then bring 2 of your kids that are over 5, along. Just remember, only the first one gets you your credit on your water bill, because, it's kind of like drugs. We know you'll get addicted after that. No. That is our bulk price. That's what we're paying, is $65 a barrel. So, we're just passing that savings on to you. And if you're one of our customers, you're even getting, a nice little bonus with that. So, and I know some of the other counties, they have their different ways. Pasco is having a rain barrel workshop coming up. If you look at the Pasco County Extension's Facebook page, because I don't remember the date, I do know they have one coming up, but they have, I'm not sure if that's their Florida Friendly or whoever puts it together. They don't, because I work for the water company, I have the mechanisms to buy these manufactured ones, in bulk, and then we get reimbursed when we distribute them. So extension offices don't always have that opportunity. So they are running around getting the bits and pieces here and there, and I'm so glad I don't have to do that. That would take up my entire job.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't have as many rain barrel workshops either. They have to gather all the parts. But check with your county wherever you are. Sometimes, like I've seen different cities, like, Mascot, strange little cities and stuff will, or have, or sponsor. St. Petersburg, the city of St. Petersburg will sometimes sponsor rain harvesting workshops where you can get them. So I'm sorry that ours is only available to Hernando County residents. Same with our compost bins. So, because, we're using monies and grants to do that, has to be used for our citizens. But check with whatever county, where you are.
Okay. We got time for one more question today because I need to go in a moment for something else.
How about a large cabbage head?
Exactly. How do you get a large cabbage head? They look good, but the head isn't as big as I like. They look so good. That's great. And this is the time of year where you would normally be, your cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage is either growing or it's to the point where you're picking it and eating it. So cabbage, you need to give it plenty of water, plenty of fertilizer, and you need to look at what variety you're growing, because some varieties of cabbage just get a lot bigger than other varieties. So a fast-growing variety that gives you a reasonably small head isn't going to get really, really huge. And one that does give you a really, really huge head takes a long time to grow. So you need to look at how long it's been growing, and maybe you need to keep it growing longer. Or it's a variety that only gives you a couple pound head. The small, fast varieties give you maybe a 4-pound head of cabbage, something like that, just
So
off
you
the top
can
of my
make
head.
little itsy bitsy stuffed cabbages, little ones.
There you go. But it's still really good cabbage. And so it's a balance. The fast maturing ones will give you cabbage in 40 days. The ones that give you a really huge head of cabbage is going to take like 90 days for it to grow all the way to maturity. And eventually we run out of winter. It gets hot.
Yeah, and so
then it messes up your cabbage. So
I was just thinking that when you said that, the bigger ones will be hard to grow here because your season's not long enough.
You have to start them early. Those you're planting the seeds and making transplants like September, and you're putting them out. They're pretty much growing all winter. So you can grow them here. Winter is long enough here. But the longer it takes for them to grow, the longer they're in your garden, the greater the chance of having a problem with caterpillars, diseases, animals, whatever it might be. So kind of a balancing act.
And Teresa is right. There is from the there is, you can go to SwiftMud, or this is showing up on an IFAS site about making your own rain barrel. But I think at this point, I know at this point, I mean, if you're a Hernando County resident, that trying to find all the bits and pieces is going to be more than $35. It might even be up to the cost of the $65 that you're paying, for our Enviro World barrels. You can look that up, Enviro World barrels, and you can purchase them from a big box store without having to attend a workshop or do anything. Just go get them there or order them from Amazon if you want to pay $115 or so dollars for the exact same barrels. So then how you get into our workshops is Bill had showed my email. That's the registration process, is emailing me, finding out more information.
Just email Lily for information about rain barrels, sign up for a class. You have any plumbing problems or issues, she's the go-to person.
The plumbing person, but okay. Low flow toilet rebate program you can ask me about if you're a customer of ours.
So, hey guys, I think we need to wrap it up just a few minutes early today. Thank you all so much for tuning in.
He has to run off and talk to his big boss.
Yeah, I need to figure out why my computer monitor just died, just turned off for some reason. I hope it ain't broke. Ooh, it's a couple years old. Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, we will be back here again next week. Lily, will you be here next Thursday? Yeah, you're going to be here.
Yep.
I'll be here. We'll all be here. And hopefully all of you will be here also. And hopefully some brand new people will go ahead and tune in and ask their questions and give us a chance to answer them, kick them around, kind of chat a little bit about it, share some recipes, everything else that we have a habit of doing on here.
As you often point out, you can watch this not live. You can catch the recording of it. So we want to say hello to everybody who catches us that way. We don't want to forget you guys who watch, after this has happened, and I hope you are learning a lot. And Bill is letting us out of class early today.
And if you're watching the recording either on Facebook or YouTube, please feel free to email us. Please be sure to, especially if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, like the video, click the little bell so that you can follow along and get notified every time we go live. That way you can jump in and ask your questions live. But even if you're watching a recording, go ahead and feel free to share your questions with us. We'll do our best to figure them out.
Yep.
Okay. Well, on
and
that,
while you're on YouTube, you can go to Hernando County Government YouTube, check the Florida Friendly Landscaping playlist there. Check that notification that you want to be notified when I have a new video, and you'll just be like Lily to death. So.
And let us blow up your phone or your computer. Thank you. Okay. Thanks again, everybody. You all have a great day, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.